Welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Tonight's guest is really interesting. We had such a great chat. I just felt like I got along with Justin really well. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer. But before I show it to you, you guys might have saw me on the news last week. So, thank you so much to Win News for the opportunity. And for the people who commented, just saw it and interacted. Thank you so much. I looked at the donations and we passed $1,200, which is really good for us. And we appreciate all the support. Remember, your name does go on the boot lid. So if you want to donate, you can. If you can't donate, but you still want to support, like, share, subscribe, and yeah, enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer. And for those wondering, just quickly, I will not forget about the local guys who got me there. So. Thank you guys and enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer. Today we're here with Justin. So Justin, you started when you were just a little fella watching your dad race. Can you tell us more about how you got involved in motorsport?
Yeah, sure. Look, so I was lucky enough to grow up in I guess, a motorsport family. So my dad raced from when I was a little kid, and he raced in a category called clubman back in the day, and then that evolved into what they call Sports 1300, which is now really where Radical Cup sort of has developed into. So yeah, I grew up at Amaroo, Oran Park on the weekends, watching my dad race this little car that, fortunately enough, where it's not sitting too far from me right now, where we have it back in our possession, and we're doing some historic racing with that again. So it was pretty cool to see back in the day my dad racing this particular car, developing the car, and working with a bloke by the name of Harry Galloway, who built the chassis back in 1968. The chassis was built, and then Dad sort of worked with Harry about 1980 when he bought the car, and they developed the car a bit, and then the rule set changed, so they did the wide body kit to it, and Dad went on in 1983 to win in Lakeside the first sports car championship that he won, and then in 1985 at Oran Park he won a second one. 1986 he sold the vehicle, and we didn't see it for nearly 20 years. So, and then it surfaced in a magazine for sale, and we went down and had a look at it, and my brother and I twisted my dad's arm to buy it back, and we did a full ground up restoration on it, and we've been racing it in historic since about 2008, and it's a real little giant killer. It's a fantastic car.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I'm gonna kill you here. I was born 2007.
Yeah, no, I had a feeling.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks like an awesome car. And look, to do a full restoration is not cheap, and it takes a lot of time. Time is money, so to do that, it's you've done quite a good job, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Dad did most of that. I got to be honest. I didn't have a lot to do with that at the time. So he sort of retired around the time he bought the car, and spent a lot of his early retirement sort of doing the full restoration on it, getting it back up to where he wanted it. And then once we got it going in 2008, took a little bit of time to get a few things right, because it hadn't been run competitively for quite some time. So yeah, I think that 2009 we started to race it and have some success, and from there on, the car, it's just such a joy to drive. We've done got lap records at Wakefield Park for our category, Eastern Creek. I don't think we quite got it at Morgan Park, but that was before they changed the circuit and lengthened it. And then yeah, down at Winton we go quite well. We didn't go quite as good as another guy did it that bought it off Dad. But we're going quite well down there too. So I think for historics we've got that lap record for under 1300 too. So
Cool. Um, got any tips for Eastern Creek? I'm going there in my RX-8 in
Oh yeah.
3 weeks time for the first time. So
Oh okay. So you're running at the state series?
no, running national Formula RX-8 series.
Oh okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Any tips? Just be careful at turn one. It can you can make up a lot of time there, but you can have some nasties there as well. That's a fast and flowing circuit, so you got to keep the car flowing. Make sure you use all the track on exits, and yeah. But I'll come out and say good day.
All right, cool. Thank you. So for
Yeah, for
those
sure.
watching, we'll be out there in 3 weeks time, April 19th, 20th under lights. So it'll be my first
Oh,
time in
fantastic.
Sydney racing. So
Yeah,
it'll be awesome.
and the track there under the lights is fantastic to race at. It's really really cool.
Cool.
So you'll really enjoy that.
Thank you. You'll have to if you get there early enough, you might have to give me a track walk. But
Yeah, yeah, cool. See what we could do. Try and
yeah,
line it up anyway.
because yeah, I got no clue. Like Winton, we did a test at Winton, and I was one of the quicker blokes there. But I've raced Winton all of my racing career. Like that's
Yep,
it's virtually
yep,
my home track, so I feel quite comfortable there.
yep,
It's a shame we're not doing Phillip Island or Sandown because I feel like I'm really confident at Sandown and Phillip Island.
yep.
So as you can tell, I'm probably from you can probably tell I'm from Victoria.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've
But
actually haven't raced interstate.
yeah, okay. So look, Eastern Creek, for my, I've raced at Phillip Island, I've raced at Winton, but only short track Winton. So the combination of the skill sets you've learnt there will very much transfer across to Eastern Creek. So, you've got some really high speed stuff at Phillip Island that'll transfer across to some of the stuff, and then you've got the slower stuff that'll relate more to your skill sets you've learnt at Winton for sure. So yeah, no, you'll have no trouble there at all.
Cool. That sounds good. I also hear that Morgan Park, so we got that after, and that's also a very technical track from what I hear.
It
What are
is,
your
yeah.
opinions on it?
I love Morgan Park. I really do. So Morgan Park. So my favourite track that I ever raced on, if I could go anywhere, it'd be Oran Park. But obviously we can't go there anymore. That was just a fantastic circuit that your brain never got a rest, and it was, if you got one corner wrong, it flowed on for the next sort of 2 to 3 corners until you could get yourself back into a rhythm. So Morgan Park's is sort of a combination of that and I guess Winton. So yeah, so look, to me, that's a technical track. It's really good fun. So we raced there in the national titles in improved production in 23, I think it was 22, 2022. And yeah, I think I finished fourth in the Honda up there, but we had a few little woes. But yeah, just an amazing track to drive. Good fun.
While you mentioned your IP car, tell us a bit about it. How did it start? How'd you build it up? Tell us the whole bit.
Yeah, cool. All right. Okay. So I started racing in improved production in 2000 with an A86, so an early model Toyota Sprinter. And that started out as a 1600cc category car. We ran that for a couple of years. I think I won the 1600cc championship in 2003, and then thought I just needed a bit more grunt. So we went and converted to a 2-litre. And yeah, through some dramas, it took a little bit of time to get it up to speed. But once we got it up to speed, we sort of started running the top 3 or 4. And then yeah, just developed the car from there. And then unfortunately in 2006, I think it was, I had a bit of a shunt at Oran Park. The car was destroyed. So we built a new chassis. So all the mechanicals were pretty good. But we got a new chassis. So built a new cage with Bond roll bars up here in Sydney. And yeah, developed the car a bit better, and then that debuted in 2008 at Bathurst. That was its first event, so that was pretty cool. Went up there for Easter, and yeah, and then from there we just kept developing the car, and I kept working with some really good people. I got involved with a bloke by the name of Dick Savvy, who helped us with Watts linkages and the rear end. The rear end was a bit of a difficult one to get right. So yeah, I got a very talented man in Dick involved in the car, and from that moment on, the car just went forward in leaps and bounds. So in 2014, we went to the national title. I think it was 2014. Went to the national titles in New South Wales at Wakefield Park, and yeah, we rolled it out of the shed and we're a bit unprepared. Didn't quite have the car ready to go at the beginning of the weekend, and as soon as it rolled out of the shed, it was on the pace. And yeah, went and I think we qualified 4th in the first qualifying session, and then they had a top 10 shootout, and we actually won the top 10 shootout, put on pole. So that was pretty cool. And then yeah, we ran in the top sort of 2 or 3 all weekend, and unfortunately, I had a failure in the final. But that's the way motorsport goes sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the next year we won the state championship in New South Wales for improved production under 2-litre. But over that period, I sort of thought it was time to park that car up and build something a bit fresher. So the next weapon of choice was a Honda Civic. So I built an EK Civic with a K20 Honda in it, obviously. And yeah, that car's been yeah, we've had some love-hate moments with that car. It's been a bit of a challenge, but we won the state championship in that car in 2020. And then yeah, I haven't done a lot since. Just the odd event here and there. So we just last year we did the national titles and unfortunately had an engine failure in one of the heats. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty much it. We just sort of parked her up for a little while. So yeah.
yeah. Sounds like Wakefield's also one of the tracks that you've come to love over your racing
Oh, yeah,
career.
Wakefield's really good fun. It's a lot like Winton in many ways, but yeah, it's a great track. I yeah had a lot of success down there, but it's just one of those circuits that you get your teeth into and enjoy. So yeah, you've really got to drive the car to make it quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, no, it's good fun.
Were you happy to hear that the track's now back open and people are able to go back racing? Like that's on our calendar. That's our last race of the year.
Is it really? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I have heard it's going to be open later this year, and I know they're working on it really hard. But yeah, that'll be amazing. It's not going to be the same. I've noticed they've redone some corners, but I think it's going to be a massive improvement. I mean, it was awesome because it was um, once again challenging. Like I like a challenging circuit, so it was bumpy and it was there was bumps in corners where you really didn't want it, where I was still on the brake pedal and you got to sort of get around things like that. But it meant that you really had to be on your game to be good there, and yeah, so I'm sure it'll be a lot smoother now with the resurface and all that sort of stuff. But it'll be fantastic to have that back on our calendar. That's for sure.
yeah. Well, I think it's going to be really cool. They're adding bankings around the outside of the corners so the sound bounces back into the track, which I think is really
Yep.
cool. So hopefully the neighbors don't complain. And but unfortunately, motorsport's one of them things where the neighbors can't handle that they were there second and the track was there first. But it's look, it stops us racing. But they called the parks. It made a comeback, but personally, I think it came back too early because now no one wants to race there because they all come and they're like, oh, the track's too bumpy. Um, and now they're trying to push it away and try and resurface it and then go again. So,
Right.
um,
Okay. I hadn't heard that actually. So there you go. I mean,
well,
that's another track that'll be fantastic. It's an iconic circuit, like so.
they held the last round of the state series for the Victorian State Series, and they're doing AASA Vic Series there as well this year. But when I went there testing last year in a Formula V, it didn't help that I didn't have front brakes, but the track was so
That doesn't
bumpy.
help.
No, well, every time I'd brake, the car would like move on me in the front, so it
Yep.
wasn't very fun. But the track's awesome, but it was very bumpy. I could feel the car was skidding along the ground because we only sit 40 mil off the ground in the Formula
Yeah.
V.
Right.
So the track does need a little bit of work if they want Formula V or Formula Ford to race there. But
Yeah.
it's a very cool circuit. The Formula V's did race there, but they only had 8 or 10 entries, so not
Yeah.
too
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. I mean, to me, we're lacking a lot of, especially for the amount of space we've got in Australia. We're lacking a lot of racetracks, and obviously when for New South Wales when we lost Oran Park, it was a big hit, and then to lose Wakefield Park as well, that's not been good for our motorsport. But yeah, hearing it coming back and yeah, I'm excited to have that back. If it's the end of the year, then that'll be terrific.
Yeah.
So
Well, when you guys lost Wakefield, that only put you at Sydney Motorsport Park and Bathurst for New South Wales, didn't it?
yeah,
So and you can't just go race at Bathurst whenever you want. You gotta,
no, that's right, that's
yeah,
right. Well, what I actually did, so in 2021, I tried to do the state championship up in, maybe it was 2020. No, it was 21. Tried to do the state championship up in Queensland. So I travelled up to Morgan Park a few times and did that. But then unfortunately we all got locked down, so we couldn't go up there anymore. So that was the end of that. But anyway, thankfully that's behind us.
yeah. Well, I know a lot of people struggled because I think they even had to adopt Winton after Wakefield closed. So Winton's always been kind of known as a barely New South Wales, barely Victorian track because it does sit close to the border, but it's at the
It
same
does.
time it's not really. It's still a good hour
Yeah.
from it or 2 hours.
Well, I think the New South Wales is certainly with improved production. Their first round is actually for the state championship this year is at Winton. So
Yeah.
I think that's only 3 or 4 weeks away. So
Mm.
um, yeah, we're going to sit that one out. But I'd love to go and do it because I've been wanting to go there for quite some time in a tin top. But yeah, we're working on the. We're sort of focused on the historic car this year. So we're going to try and get a test day out in that very soon at Eastern Creek, and then I think our first round with HSRCA is in June. So that's probably creeping up a lot quicker than we expect. So
Cool. That'll be good to see you out on track because go open wheel is there's something they're crazy, especially the Formula V. So the Formula V I drove. First of all, I had a Sabre, so that's a 2005-ish. That's still considered semi-new.
yep, yep,
And I actually had a crash in that at Winton at turn three. The rear end stepped out. We weren't 100% sure if it was the driver or suspension because the suspension broke, but it hit the wall head on. So
yeah,
the
right,
rear
okay,
suspension was broken. So it's a bit of a who knows. But yeah, that we rode that car off. We got the chassis repaired. I've actually rebuilt it. Just need to sell it now because I'm doing
yep,
this. But
yep,
for the time we went out and it was quite cheap, so we bought an older Formula V. So it was built in 1990, and it looked like it'd been built in someone's shed. And I
yeah,
raced through that for 2 years. Um,
okay,
and as you can imagine, I raced up the back for 2 years.
yep, yep,
Except last year at Phillip Island, pouring down rain, and I went from P18 to P8 in 2 laps,
yeah, wow,
and
that's
passed.
awesome.
I had passed 10 cars in turn one.
Yeah, right.
They were all bunched up on the inside, and I just went around the outside of them because
That's fantastic. I mean,
so
that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed driving in the wet. So,
yeah,
Dad's little jigger. Um, we did a historic meeting at Eastern Creek, and it was the extended circuit. They've only in HSRCA, they've only done one round where they ran that full track, and it is a challenge because down the bottom it's pretty tight in one corner. But for our little jigger, it was pretty good, but it was very very wet, and yeah, we qualified. Went out in qualifying. I argued with Dad on Friday about putting a new set of tyres on it, wet weathers, and we put a new set of wets on it and went out in qualifying. And to our surprise, we put it on pole in front of Formula 5000s and big
yeah,
V8 sort of sports cars. And then yeah, race one, I lost the start. It was a standing start, so obviously a little 1300 against these big V8s and stuff. I think I was third to turn two. And then yeah, I pretty much gathered it up and we won that race by a whole lap.
that's crazy.
So yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, well, I didn't even know. All I knew was I was passing a lot of cars. It was so wet, so much spray.
Yeah,
But that car is just because it's low
mm.
on power and big on tire. It was just yeah, good fun. So yeah,
Well, if I was to give anyone, obviously driving the rain's an art, but to give anyone advice, I'd just say have confidence because if you lose confidence, then you drive crap. Having
absolutely.
confidence in the wet, you just gotta stick to what you want to do. So if you got a line that you're gonna take, stick to it and trust it. And well, I've always thought I've had good wet instincts, and I've
Yep,
every time I've been in the wet, I've done really well. So one time I threw it away, one time I had a spin and then stalled it, and then
yep.
couldn't get it started again. But
Ah,
that's just one time. So I think even in supercarts, so I race supercarts for a little bit too as well. So they're
yeah.
like a
Okay.
go-kart, but they've got a big
Yep.
fairing on the front and whatever. And I was at Broadford Motorsport Park, so that's a little motorcycle track in
Yeah.
down in Victoria, and I won by 40 seconds and set a lap
Wow.
record in the wet. I set the lap
Oh
record in the
wow.
wet
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. Well
because
done.
well, it wasn't super wet, but it was damp, dry, and the track had been resurfaced, I think, a couple of weeks before or something.
Yep.
So the track was fresh, it was damp, and I set the lap record in the damp conditions. Like, so the photo of me setting it when they took the photo of me crossing the line winning, there's like puddles and shit in the background.
That's
So
terrific.
it was really cool and something I'll never forget. And I broke it by like 3 seconds or 2 seconds. It
Yeah,
was
wow. Yeah,
and
wow.
but to be fair, like I won't toot my horn too much because it was a junior class and there wasn't many juniors. who
Yeah.
had raced and whatever. So the last record was probably set 5 years prior, whatever. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
was
But
still
look,
really proud.
yeah, absolutely. You should be. You should be. So, I mean, that reminds me of. So the reason that we love going, Dad and I love going to Winton and racing the Clubman, the Galloway, is because that's a track that Dad raced at quite a bit, and he raced that particular car there. It's one of the few circuits that's still left going. That and Lakeside in Queensland, which is pretty much limited now anyway. But yeah, so it's the only place that we've got where I can go and drive it, and we can compare to what Dad was doing. And we went down there for probably, I reckon, about 3 years in a row, and I didn't beat his time. And he had the time that he'd set was in the Australian Motorsport book for the year, because it was quite a good time. It was a lap record back then. And then we went back there, I think the third year, and it was damp conditions, and I think it was a 60.4 or something like that. And all the way home, Dad's giving me a hard time, geeing me up. Oh, you still haven't beaten my time. You still haven't beaten my time. Anyway, I got home that night and he opened up his book to, proud moment. And he goes, oh, hang on a minute. That is 60.9, not a 60.1. So I actually beat his time, and it was semi-wet conditions. So similar to what you're saying, but yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I think the wet's a very driver condition. You got to be a really good driver to handle the wet, but not saying you can't learn it. It's just something because Dad's always been a big supporter of mine. He called me Etten,
Yep.
so well, that's
Yeah.
his fault.
You had no choice, did you?
Yeah.
Had to
Well,
be involved in motorsport.
well, he goes, I never wanted you to, but you just found it because we went rental karting one day at a party, and I fell in love with it when we went rental karting. So I begged Dad to buy me a go kart, and whenever it rained after school, straight to the go kart track, slicks in the rain. That's how I learned,
Yep.
and it was the
Yep.
best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I did a
So
little bit of go-karting when I was about 18, 19. And yeah, we didn't have, in the class I was running in Clubman. I didn't do a lot of racing because I just didn't have the money. But
yeah,
every time we're in the wet, we're on slicks. There was no wet weather tire for that category at the time. And I think that taught me a lot that I still use today.
mm,
But yeah, look, I think the problem is too, you start to get a bit older. I don't drive the car as much as I used to, so you start to lose your little, like you say, the more you can be in the car and out there doing it, the
yeah.
better off you are. So
Well, that's why I give advice to anyone who's like about my age and they're trying to do stuff in motorsport, do motorcarnas, do sprints and carnacrosses because they're the cheapest form of motorsport. If you can't afford to do motorsport, buy a paddock bomb and race carnacross and motorcarnas or sprints. Cheapest form of motorsport, absolute fun. It's so underrated.
yep.
People go, oh, but it's not real racing. But when you get out there, you have so much fun.
But it's car control. That's what
Yeah,
it's all about. Learning what the car's doing and understanding how the car reacts to certain different things and situations and how you react to them and getting comfortable with having the car, like for me, going from the rear wheel drive Sprinter to the front wheel drive Honda,
yeah,
people put the fear of God in me that, once you lose the back, if you lift off halfway through a corner in a front wheel drive car, it's going to swap ends. And I still haven't got that out of my head when I drive it. It doesn't do it. Not well, the way we've set it up, it doesn't do it. But yeah, it's still in the back of my head that I'm freaking out that might happen. So I need to spend some time in the wet in that car and cause that to happen and get my skills back up to where they should
yeah.
be. So
Well, have you ever driven a Formula V?
no, I haven't.
So in the
No.
Formula Vs, they're one of them cars that if you lift right off the throttle, the rear comes round mid corner,
Yep.
and that's how you got to drive them. So I
Yep.
was very much the same. I was told, look, you're going to go into a corner too hard, the rear's going to come around, and you're going to spin. And if you don't learn to control it, it's just one of them things you learn. I was being told, just one of the
Yep.
things you learn when the rear comes around, you're going to have to catch it. And straight away, I think my first session, I'm driving because I'm just trying to ease into it because it's not my car, it's a lease car. Oh
Yep.
yeah. Oh, I see what these guys are talking about. Oh, bang. It's
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
you got to find your limit, and then once you find the limit, you can control it, and it's a good skill to have. And then
Absolutely.
ever since then, like you know what I mean. You learn where the limit is, And yeah, you're pretty sweet. The Formula V's don't go too quick, but they're a very nice car to learn car control in.
Oh, absolutely. With the engine out the back, all that pendulum out the back of the car, like you say, once it gets going, it's got some momentum behind it. So it
Mm.
takes a bit of effort to bring it back. So, I mean, that's the interesting thing between that and the Clubman. My back is virtually on the center line of the rear axle. Like the back tire is actually probably almost level with my shoulder when I'm sitting in the car. So as soon as the back goes out, you feel it because you're sitting right on the rear axle. So now, in saying that, that car's got an open diff center, so there's no real worry about it two wheeling or anything. But you that can create other issues. But yeah, you just feel it as soon as it lets go. But that's like you say, you've got to let it slide a bit. Certain corners, you've really got to let it go. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but good fun, good fun.
yeah, heaps of fun. And if you were to give any advice to your 16-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Yeah, probably just similar to what you said. I wish I had got into cars a bit earlier. I didn't start racing until I was in my 30s, like racing cars anyway, and I probably didn't understand how to get in, even though I had all this network around me of people that were building the engines and helping Dad with the car, and I had access to those people. I still didn't quite understand how to get in,
Mm.
um, and then it wasn't until I sat down one day and said, right, this is what I want to do. Um, and we went through some stuff and we decided, right, improve production. And someone suggested me to buy a Sprinter, and it didn't take more than 2 seconds for me to make the decision that that was the right car for me. Because yeah, I watching John Smith back in the '80s in that little Corolla,
Yeah.
belting across the top of the mountain with Brocky, giving him a hard time across the top of the hill because he was slow and Brocky was slowing him up. Um, that was just one of those images in my head that I'm like, oh, as soon as I got offered, suggested a Sprinter, I'm like, yeah, no, that's it. That's what we're going to do. And then yeah. Fortunately, I got to meet John and race with John a few times in historics up until unfortunately he had his accident. So
Oh, that's cool. Um,
yeah, yeah.
but is there any sponsors or anyone you'd like to thank for getting you all this way?
Oh, look, I mean, obviously my dad letting me drive that special little car. I've had lots of people that have been involved that I really owe big thanks to. So one of them would be Mark Yeager, who built the engines in the Sprinter, and started building the engines in the Honda. Dick Savvy, who helped me heaps with developing the chassis. And then I've got a guy who comes and helps me all the time, who it's a labour of love, and I managed to be able to keep him coming back, Gary Cook, who I really, yeah, we couldn't have done a lot of what we've done without his help. So yeah, and my brother too. I mean, my brother, he races historics as well in a Formula 2 car. He was racing a Formula 3 Dallara up until just recently. He's just sold that, and he's gone back to off-road racing. So he's now racing a buggy. So again, he's done that for a lot of years. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for jumping on the show tonight, Justin. It's been great to hear about your story of Grassroots Motorsport and coming second generation, so or third, or just
No,
second.
second, yeah, no, only second. So, but yeah, the third generation started in that my brother's daughter navigates for him in the off-road car. So,
Cool.
yeah, we're certainly onto the third generation of McClintocks in motorsport. That's for sure. So, yeah,
Cool. Thanks for jumping on, Justin, and I'll see you
mate,
off in
thanks for having
Sydney.
me. It's been good fun. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Thank
Okay,
you.
no worries.